Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're here for another common accounting question and answer video. This is part 7, so if you haven't watched the other videos, make sure you go check that out. We have 28 questions today, so I need to just get started so I can finish this during my lunch break. So if I can say the name, I'll try, otherwise just kind of listen out for your question. So Diana asks, can you get into accounting with just an associate's or bachelor's degree? I have a bachelor's degree, so yes, you can get a job with the bachelor's degree. You can also get a job with an associate's degree. It just kind of depends on what type of job that you're looking for. I think a lot of people with an associate's degree starts at like a accounts receivable, accounts payable level, and then you kind of move up from there, whereas someone with a bachelor's degree would start as like a staff accountant and move up from there. So it's just depending on where you want to start and all of that. The nice thing about starting with your associate's degree is that some companies will pay for your bachelor's degree, and it's just nice if you don't have to pay for it all out of pocket. So you can definitely get jobs with both of those degrees. Ren Bunny asks, what's the difference between an auditor, public accountant, and financial analyst, job duty wise? Okay, so a public accountant is, there's two types of accountants, really. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty others, but a public accounting individual is someone who works at a public accounting company. They're usually an auditor or they work in tax. So that's kind of the two like main things that public accountants do. So obviously a public accountant kind of includes an auditor. So those are very similar. A financial analyst, that would be more of private accounting, I would think. I don't know a ton of financial analysts, to be honest with you. I'm sure that they have those at like bigger companies. I currently work for a smaller company, so I'm not too familiar with that. But really the job duty wise, an auditor is just auditing different companies. A public accountant could either be an auditor or do tax, or maybe do something else within the auditing firm. And again, I'm not too familiar with financial analysts, so I can't really answer on that one. The same person asks, I want to get into budget analyzing because my aunt was an accountant and did that for HP. How hard is the CPA? I have heard that it's very hard. I personally have not taken it yet. I will take it in the summer, so I'll let you know more about that and how it's going and everything then. I've heard that it's really hard, but I have to say that all of my friends who have taken it have passed. So I think if you're prepared, if you study hard, I think you will be fine. I'm nervous for it, but I think as long as I put the time in, I should be okay. The next question is, how long do you need to study to become an accountant? That really depends on what degree that you want to have. So to get your associate's degree in accounting, that's 2 years. To get a bachelor's degree, that's 4. To get an MBA or a master's could be anywhere between 1 and 2 years. And then if you want to get a CPA, I think on average it probably takes like 6 to 18 months depending on kind of your schedule and what you plan on doing. So really it could be as short as 2 years or as long as like 6 years with everything. So it really just depends on what you're wanting to do and all of that. The next question is, the video is great and helpful. I'm glad that you find it helpful. I have questions about what you would advise for college international students who are seeking an internship or job or opportunity in the US. What should they prepare and do in order to get hired? Thank you. If you're international, I would make sure that you're familiar with GAAP, which is generally accepted accounting principles. It's a little different than the international accounting standards, so definitely make sure that you know GAAP. Other than that, I mean, I would give you the same advice that I would give anybody. Just, take your classes, start getting your name out. If you want to find an internship or job in the US, send your resumes out. You know, tell them when you plan on coming, and all of that. The nice thing is a lot of companies look for diversity and to find different people, and so being from a different country would definitely be in your benefit, I think. So yeah, just, you know, put your name out there, go visit people, call people, send your resume out. I think just getting your name out is huge. Wendy says, thank you so much for this great video. When you started working, did you feel 100% ready for work, or did you need training? So I kind of went into my like full-time job knowing that I would not feel 100% ready, and that's because I did internships, and I know every time I started that internship that I did not feel 100% ready. The main thing is, if you study in accounting, you know, like the basic accounting principles. What you really need to learn is what the company decides to do, like what their plans are, the way that they do things, you know, stuff like that. So don't feel nervous if you don't feel ready, because I think that's very common for any student that's getting out of college, because really, like, you go from studying to doing real world stuff, and it's not the same, and every company is different, the way that they like to do stuff, their software, all of that. So I did not feel ready, and most people probably won't, but don't worry about it. They will teach you everything that they want you to know. The next question is, hello Sarah, I'm currently going into the end of my financial accounting course, which is an accelerated 8-week course. I want to do accounting, but I get so frustrated when I can't figure something out. My teacher does a horrid job at teaching, therefore 100% of learning is done at home. I've taken 2 exams and scored 88 and 85 respectively, with another showing up on December 6th, then the final. He drops the lowest grade as well. Even though I score pretty high, he doesn't test on problems, but concepts and true/false questions. I feel walking out of this class and going into managerial accounting, I will not be fully prepared, as I forget some things dealing with bonds or have trouble with journalizing, and it's making me second guess my career choice. I want to do this, but sometimes I loathe it, especially when I miss problems. Did you go through this as well? Those are great questions, and I'm glad that you went into all that detail, because honestly I felt exactly in your position at some times. For me, one of the things that I really liked about accounting in school was that usually you would have this really complicated problem, and I would work through it, and then finally it made sense and I figured it out. And when you figure it out, it's the best feeling ever. But when you don't know what's going on and you can't figure it out, it sucks so bad. I remember being so frustrated, and sometimes honestly I would just walk away from it and then come back later, and usually after an hour or so break I could figure it out. So don't worry about the fact that it's frustrating, because trust me, every accounting student has felt like that. It's just, you have to learn it, and so sometimes the concepts don't come as easily to some people, but honestly I think as long as you are doing the homework problems and everything, you will be completely fine. Okay, so it really does stink that you have bad accounting professors, because I had really good ones at ISU. I loved my professors, and now that I'm getting my MBA, I realize even more how good they were, because the professors are not as good at this college that I'm at. But I do definitely relate to you when you say that you learn a lot at home. That was kind of my strategy, and that's really how I excelled in accounting, was that I would, we would go over stuff in class, like, let's say the professor assigns you reading and homework, and I would do the reading before we would go over it in class. That way I taught myself it, and then in class I would kind of just relearn it, or just expand on some concepts that I didn't necessarily understand so much when I was reading. But I really suggest that, especially, you're doing it already, but for other people I suggest, don't wait until you get to school or get to your class to learn the material. Read it all, try and understand it yourself. Don't get upset if you don't understand it, because it's totally fine to read it and not understand it at first. So read it, go to class, learn about it, ask questions you have about the reading, and then after that, do your homework problems. That worked so well for me. I did that all the time in all of my accounting classes, and honestly, I think it made a huge difference. But yeah, to answer your question, long story short, I went through the same exact thing. Don't let it bother you. Don't let it discourage you. Honestly, the journal entries, I do journal entries maybe 2 times a month at my job. It's not that big of a deal. Journal entries, that's what you focus on a lot in school, but it's not something that you do a ton in accounting, at least my experience. Okay, so the next question is from Blair Waldorf. She always sends a lot of questions, and thank you so much. She says, "Hi Sarah, I'm so shy to ask questions because you've been so gracious about answering, and I don't want to take away too much of your time. Do not worry about it at all. I love doing these for you guys, so keep asking questions, seriously." She says, "I'm trying to decide whether to go into public or private accounting. I hate audit only because of the excessive travel, and the area I feel most comfortable with is financial accounting. I just need to go into a path that will lead me to eventually earning $80,000 a year. I am aware I won't make this starting off, but I mean as progress. I was wondering if you think I can eventually achieve the salary with private accounting. I know it's possible in public, but private would be most ideal. Also, in general, do you think that 2 people can live off of an accountant's salary comfortable? I have good money management, but I'm asking because I'd like to support my mom and myself without having to limit ourselves to too much of money. Too much because of money." Okay, so when it comes to what you should do, honestly, I would do internships to figure that out. That's how I was able to figure it out. Before I did my public accounting internship, I was convinced that I wanted to do audit. I thought it would be so much fun to travel. I thought it would be fun to go to different clients all the time, to be out of the office. And the first week I did it, I hated it. I hated it so much. I hated the travel. I hated being in the car all the time, although I'm always in the car now filming these videos. So I think really the best way to figure it out is to do internships. Try and get like a private accounting internship. Try and get a public accounting internship if you can. If not, then if you already know that you hate travel, then auditing is probably not going to be for you unless you can figure out a way that you can only travel like 20 minutes away from your house. And that's possible. I know that my internship, they tried really hard to have you within like 40 minutes or so from your house, but still there were times where like I had to travel an hour and a half, and it was a lot. As for salaries, I did a video on salaries, but I'll touch on it really quickly. From my experience, what I have seen was that my friends who worked in public accounting and they got their first job offer, it was significantly less than my job offer for my first job. I would say the internship that I interned at, sorry, that was just like very repetitive, but anyway, they offered someone at that place a job while I was there, and of course we all share everything with each other, so she told me that it was $49,000 a year, and I remember thinking that that was pretty low. And just because I heard other people talking at that time, you know, that was like, it'll be 5 years ago in August, so like 4.5 now or whatever. I remember hearing that the average starting for someone in public was $55,000 a year. So when I heard 49, I'm like, that is really low. Like, I would not be okay with that. And then when I got my job, again, it was significantly higher than even what the average was for public accounting. So I think it really just depends on where you work. I would not go just go to public accounting because you think it's going to be more generous with the salaries, because in my experience, I have made more than all of my friends who work in public accounting. And you ask, can two people live off of an accountant's salary? We actually, so I don't know how familiar you are with my story, but I am the only one working in my family. I have a 2-year-old daughter and my husband. So he's a stay-at-home dad. He does work like part-time, like 12 hours or so a week just to get out of the house. But we live solely off of my salary and we are very comfortable. We are able to go on trips all the time. So I definitely think that you could support you and your mom if that is something that you wanted to do. So Thomas M. asks, what are the pros and cons of nursing over accounting that led you to choose to accounting instead? The main reason why I decided to go into accounting instead of nursing was because I didn't like studying the material. I remember I was taking some anatomy class or something and we were going over the bones and muscles, and I remember thinking like, I don't care about this. Like, this is not interesting. I don't want to do it. I don't like learning about this stuff. I don't want to memorize stuff like that. And there is some memorization in accounting, but really, I don't know. I just kept thinking like, why do I need to know this? But anyway, so that was the main reason why I chose accounting instead of nursing, just because I didn't like the material. But also I am very, very squeamish when it comes to blood, and I didn't realize that while I was deciding what I was going to do. But now sometimes when I get my blood taken, I actually pass out. So it's a good thing that I didn't become a nurse. But hopefully that answers your questions. There weren't a ton of reasons. I just realized I didn't like it so much. Panda Bear asks, what 2 big 4 companies recruited at your campus? PwC and KPMG were the 2 that recruited. It might be different now, but those were the 2 back when I was in school who did. The next question is, or comment or whatever, says, hi everyone, I'm new to this channel and I'm in first year college university. Should I do a specialist in accounting, or will majoring in accounting and math be good as well? I'm not too familiar with specializing in accounting. I know that like in my MBA program you can specialize in finance or whatever like area you want to, but I've never heard of you like specializing in accounting without getting an accounting degree. I would say if you're interested in accounting, to do an accounting bachelor's degree or an accounting associate's degree. I just think that's probably the best if that's what you want to do. The next question says, hello Sarah, I just found you on YouTube and I'm already a big fan. I'm glad. I already had a few questions. Could you maybe do a video with an elaboration on the CPA requirements? Also, what is your opinion on the accounting industry being prone to automation? Lastly, I believe that your MBA concentration is in finance. Could you compare a finance concentration to an accounting concentration from your perspective? Okay, so the CPA requirements are all different by state. So I would suggest if you're interested in accounting and doing the CPA that you research that, because there's no way I could do the requirements for every state in a video. I could tell you what the requirements are in Illinois because that's where I'm from. You have to have 150 credit hours, so that's a bachelor's degree with an MBA or a bachelor's degree with a master's in something, or you could double major. Whatever you do, you just have to get 150 credit hours. You also have to take an ethics class, which can be included in those 150 hours, but mine wasn't, so I had to take another ethics class. So that's pretty much it. That's like for taking the exam, but then when you get into like being licensed, that's a whole nother thing. But again, I would just look into like your state and figure that all out, because I don't want to give you guys like misleading information. Do I think that the accounting industry is prone to automation? A lot of people ask this, and I do not think so. Mostly because the stuff that I'm doing right now, I try and automate, but it just doesn't work. Some accounting systems don't work with certain ways, and it's honestly a huge hassle sometimes, but it's also job security. So what I'm doing right now will never be automated. There's just no way. My MBA concentration is in finance, and I did do that just because, one, I wanted to diversify a little bit. Having the finance concentration will help me look like I'm not just interested in accounting, but also because my school didn't have a concentration in accounting. I have to say with finance is more of like making sure that you have money in the future, whereas accounting, and this is commonly said all the time, is more looking into the past to see how you did. So that's kind of the big difference between the two. I did take some finance classes in my accounting degree, and honestly, I don't know how much extra I'm learning now, but that's a whole nother story. The next question is, hi, I love your videos. They are very helpful. Please continue. I will, definitely. Question, I am earning my associate's degree in accounting to move on to getting my bachelor's degree, and I wanted to know, should I start doing internships after I finish my associate's degree or wait until I go to a university? If you can get an internship now, do it. The more internships you can get, the better. I honestly think that way you have more opportunities for jobs. A lot of times where you intern is where you get a full-time job. But the thing is, a lot of companies want you to be a junior, and so that would mean you're in your bachelor's degree. So even though that's a common practice to wait until your junior year, I would start looking sooner. I think I told you guys this before. I started interning as a sophomore, and my freshman year I went to internship fairs and all of that, mostly because that's what my school told me to do, but also because I was really determined to like get a job and figure everything out. And so I did that. I got a internship my second semester of my sophomore year, and that's actually how I got my current job. So I definitely think if you have time, definitely look for an internship. Okay, so next question is, do you come from a family of accountants? No. And I've never really touched on this for you guys, but I think I'll go into it, and let me know if you guys want me to do a video about financial aid and all of that. But to be honest with you guys, I was the first one in my family to go to college. I'm actually the first one in my family to graduate from high school. So that's a huge reason why I like to make these videos for people who are like me, who, you know, don't necessarily have family to give them advice about stuff. But yeah, so my mom, my dad, they did not finish high school. They have never gone to college or anything like that. So I do not come from a family of accountants at all. Yeah, none of my family, I don't think any of my family are accountants, but funny enough, right now my sister is getting her degree in accounting, and a cousin of mine is going to school for accounting. So now we are going to be a family of accountants, but we haven't been so far. Okay. Oh, so many questions. We have to go fast. Okay, the next question is from Nancy. Thank you so much for answering my question, Sarah. And I'm kind of new to your channel, so forgive me if you've already answered the next question that I'm going to ask. So my questions are, how did you find your internship? Through career and internship fairs. That's kind of how I did it. Did you find it online? No, I went to the like on-campus internship fair. Was it through your school's career fair? Yes. She asked, or was it somewhere else? No, it was through the school. And is the company you're currently working for at right now the same company you did your internships with? No, but my company right now was affiliated with the company that I did my first internship. And so when I was applying for this job, the first internship that I had recommended me. And so that's kind of how that worked. What does the company look for in an intern? Honestly, with accounting interns, I think they look for grades. You don't have to be perfect, but, you know, decent grades. Sorry, my camera cut off. They also want to see that you are involved in things. So, like accounting fraternities, accounting groups, stuff like that. They just want to make sure that you can study and, like, you know, be involved in other things as well. So I think that's the main thing. Just make sure that you are studying hard, getting good grades, also that you are involved in activities. And I mean, honestly, just go to the career fairs and internship fairs and everything, and be like professional. Have a resume, have a suit on, do whatever you can to impress them. Do you think they look for a really high GPA? Again, I think they're looking for a high GPA, but I don't think that's going to hold you back if you don't have the highest GPA. And what do they expect us to know once we start as interns? Again, they will teach you everything you need to know. Do not worry about that. I've never had a time where they're like, oh, they like quiz you or anything. I've never had them be like, oh, well, how do you do this? No, they're going to show you and walk you through it and all of that. So yeah, that's all of your questions. Apple1003, thank you so much for answering my questions. I enjoy your videos and it has taught me a lot. I'm going back to school in January to finish my degree in accounting. What do you think of a double major with accounting? My school offers human resources, IT, computer science in the business program, along with finance. Do you think this will make my job perspective any better? By the way, I am a guy, lol. Sorry about that. Okay, so if you want to double major, a huge thing that I've seen is double majoring in accounting and finance. Honestly, if you're not interested in finance, then maybe choose a different double major. Another huge thing that I have seen is double majoring in like information systems and accounting. But again, just do whatever you're interested in. If you're not interested in those, then maybe don't double major and maybe get a master's if you want. Sun1489 asks, thanks so much for another banger. You're welcome. I'm glad you guys are liking them. I got some more accounting questions, but this time regarding public accounting. When is busy season usually? I'm not super familiar with busy season, but I think it is probably between like December and May because of tax season. But again, I'm not super familiar with public accounting, so maybe somebody else can answer that question for you in the comments. What is a typical day like hour-wise for busy season? When I was working in public accounting, I was working 10 plus hours a day, and that wasn't really including travel. Travel would make it more. Do you have to work busy seasons? Do you have to work the weekends during busy season? Yes. When I worked in public accounting, I was working at night when I got home. You were expected to like finish your work, so if you needed to work at night, if you needed to work on the weekends, you have to do that. Again, I'm not super familiar. That's not really my like area. But if anybody wants to answer Sun's question, that would be awesome down below. Doug asks, hi Sarah, thanks for all your great videos. I was looking to go back to school and double major in accounting and computer information systems. My question is, in your opinion, how much could one benefit from both degrees and any personal experience you have at your company or another company? I do know someone who double majored in accounting and information systems, and that is not as common as accounting and finance, but he was able to find a job very easily. At my job right now, we don't have anybody like that. I think that's probably going to be more common in public accounting. But again, I'm not super familiar with it, so maybe somebody else could answer their question if you guys know. Again, if you're interested in accounting and information systems, do it, because that's all that matters. You'll be able to find something. Someone out there will be looking for, you know, your two areas of specialization. The next question is from Patrick Oliver. He says, what does your accounting career look from beginning to end present, position by position? Okay, so I guess I'll start with my internships because that's a huge part of what I've done so far. My first internship, I was doing budgeting for a private accounting company, and I worked there for 1.5 years. So I did that while I was in school, and then I got an internship at a public accounting firm for like 3 or 4 months during the summer, and during that time I was doing auditing. Then my last semester of school, I worked part-time at my current job, where I started as a staff accountant. My current position right now is a senior accountant, and when I'm done with my MBA and stuff like that, I'm hoping to be promoted to a manager level. So we will see. I'll keep you guys updated with all of that. Cindy asks, hi Sarah, is actuarial science a good minor for accounting in terms of job prospects in applying for grad school? Thank you. One area that I wish I would have known about when I was in school is actuarial science. Actuarial science is a huge field, and it's hard. It's probably way harder than accounting, I think, but I'm pretty sure that if you had to choose like an area where you could find a job easier than accounting, actuarial science would probably be that. There are more tests involved to become an actuary, but I think if you're interested in actuarial science and accounting, that's a great combination. Again, I wish I would have known about actuarial science before I was in school. The next question is, also, have you ever made a mistake in your job that could have cost your company a lot of money? If so, how did you resolve that? I have not made any mistakes that have cost the company a lot of money, and honestly, if your company has enough checks and balances, there should never be a situation where that happens. Right now, a lot of my work, the way that it happens is I do my work and then my manager checks it. She doesn't check everything that I do, but just some stuff that's like super important or whatever. There are always like different checks in place. So for example, if I'm sending money out to somebody, I have to provide proof to why I'm sending that money out. And at that time, if I'm making a mistake, if I'm sending $1 million instead of $10,000, someone would catch that. So I honestly don't think that you have to worry about that as long as your company has enough checks and balances. Another question is can I easily find a job with an associate's degree in accounting? I believe so. Again, that wasn't really my experience, but if you look for accounts payable or accounts receivable jobs in accounting, you will definitely find a job. There are tons of jobs out there for that. Next question is, do colleges and internships provide a lot of help with the transition from schoolwork to actual accounting work in a job setting, or do they expect you to know a lot of that already? No, they will help you with the transition. Again, they're going to be teaching you how they want stuff done and like the processes and everything, and so you seriously do not have to worry about having to know everything. They will teach you everything. Afternoon Productions asks, hi Sarah, would you recommend getting an associate's degree in accounting at a community college, or should I get a bachelor's degree from my state school in business administration with a focus in accounting? Thanks. Okay, so there's two questions really. If I was doing my accounting schoolwork again, I would not major in business administration and focus in accounting. I think just majoring in accounting would be the best bet, but again, it really depends on your situation. The other question is like, should you go to community college or to a state school? I went to a state school right away, and I did spend a lot more money because of that, but also there are some nice things about doing that. One, your GPA is all together. So the nice thing about gen eds and everything is that it kind of cushions your GPA for like your harder level classes. I didn't need that because I did pretty well. My GPA was pretty high in school, but for, in general, if you don't have those 2 years of gen eds, when you start your accounting work, you have really tough classes and your GPA could go down significantly if you don't have that padding. So honestly, that's really a personal decision. If I would do it again, I would probably do exactly what I did, just because I became more familiar with the school. I met professors. I got my internship my sophomore year, so I would probably do it exactly the way that I did it. Okay, we're getting down to the last 4 questions. Next question is, Sarah, how important is it to pay attention to the economics, macro, and micro subject in school if you plan to be an accountant? I did economics in school. Not important at all, for me at least. I don't do anything with economics now, so. I mean, it was interesting. I like taking the class, but I honestly don't do anything with it now. Next question is, hi Sarah, I have watched a couple of your videos now, but I want to ask you if you studied business, accounting, finance in school. I live in Europe and doing my last year upper secondary education, which is the equivalent of the last 3 years of high school in the US. I've been studying business for 2 years and studying accounting and calculation right now this year. Also, keep up the good work with the videos and especially Vlogmas. Thank you so much. Again, if you guys have not checked out Vlogmas, make sure you go check it out. It's just more of like my daily life, which is boring if you ask me, but people seem to like it. So I took a few business classes when I was in high school. Nothing too important, just like very basic level. And then my senior year, I took accounting the entire year. And that's really how I decided that I wanted to do accounting. Was it important? Probably not. Honestly, it was financial accounting that I took. So in college, I redid financial accounting, which was nice because it was a nice review, but you don't have to do it in high school if you're a senior right now, don't worry about it. If you want to do accounting, then go ahead, take it if your school offers it. But I don't think it's super important because you will learn everything you need to know in college. Natalie asks, hey Sarah, do you think I could get a good paying job if I graduate from my community college with an associate's in applied science accounting? Again, I think you can get like an accounts receivable or accounts payable job, and that's a good starting point. A lot of times you can start there and then move up, but I think a lot of times they're going to want you to get a bachelor's degree eventually. If you can find a job that will pay for school as you're working there, that would be great. But yeah, you could definitely find a job, with an associate's degree. And then the last question is, how does one need an accounting or finance degree to get into accounting and finance? Not necessarily. If you're right out of school, then probably. But if you have some type of business degree, I would think that if you're interested in accounting, maybe your job could train you in that. Again, I don't have a ton of experience with that. I have more experience seeing people who have accounting degrees who transitioned into something else. For example, someone at my company, he had his accounting degree, an MBA, and his CPA, and he did accounting for a while, and then he transitioned into a different department, and now he's more in like sales and marketing and that type of thing. He's actually the director of that area. So I think honestly it's probably possible, but if you're interested in accounting, you should probably go into accounting. Otherwise, if you've already done your schooling, then I would just talk to your company and tell them you're interested in it and see kind of what works with them. So anyway, guys, that was the 28 questions. This video is going to be extremely long. So thank you guys again so much for asking questions. I promise to keep these videos coming as long as you guys keep answering them or asking them. One thing that I wanted to point out is I've had a couple people contact me through like Instagram and email and stuff asking questions. I don't have a ton of like free time to like answer questions individually. So if you have any specific things that you want answered, please just leave the comments down below. It's way easier for me to look at. And honestly, I really don't check like my YouTube email a ton, and I don't really check Instagram messages at all. So if you have a question, make sure you leave them down below. That's really the best way for me to get the questions answered for you guys. So anyway, guys, that is the video. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.